What's up guys, it's me, Jeremy. Braum is a champion that's been relevant in the competitive scene pretty much ever since his release. His defensive power comboed with his crowd control come together to create an awesome support champion with a great mix of utility, damage, and tankiness. And to top it off, who could hate a guy with such a lovable personality like Braum? But during development, he was a lot different to how he eventually turned out. So join me today in taking a look back before his release on May 12, 2014. To find out what Braum could have been. As well, here's some of my favorite comments where I asked what you guys thought about Aurelian's soul. Today I want to know what character from any universe do you guys wish was added into League of Legends? And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you don't, please hit the dislike, because if this video hits 10,000 ratings, I'm gonna buy myself some ice cream in honor of Braum. Anyways, let's get started. To kick off the development process, designer Riot Rex came up with this concept of having a support champion that would jump in front of his ally in order to protect them with a shield, and making that element of gameplay specifically as awesome as it could be. And there's actually a cool story behind that, which Riot Rex talked about during a panel at PAX East 2015. He was playtesting the early versions of Jinx with Riot Gypsy Lord, who was supporting him with Leona down at the bot lane. And he was laning versus a Thresh and a Graves. And as they laned, he overextended a little bit to get a CS and was in position to get hit by a Thresh hook. However, Leona came to the rescue and flashed right in front of Riot Rex to tank the hook completely. And as the fight continued, they would turn it around into a nice double kill for Jinx and Leona. And that idea of blowing everything just to get in front of your AD carry and save them was something that Rex thought was awesome. And he wanted to expand on that idea further and create a new support from that gameplay, which all of the writers agreed was a really cool aspect of the support role that everyone kind of did naturally as a support, but that the champion kits didn't exactly contribute to that type of gameplay. And so Braum's actually one of the very few examples of a champion that was designed starting with a gameplay mechanic, which ended up being the idea of shielding your teammates, which the writers really liked. And so they started looking at a number of different characters and the attitude of being a protector and characters that might be a good fit with. And they settled upon the concept of an engineer. But wait, Braum's not an engineer. Well, Braum's initial design was actually a character called Cece, the Hextech engineer. She was from Piltover, and instead of an ice shield, she would have used a Hextech one that kind of resembled this big, complicated workbench almost. Riot showcased their concept art for Cece at the PAX East panel, which shows off her shield, and you can kind of see how it was like a battering ram almost, in the way that she holds it, and you can also see how Cece has her character art pretty fleshed out from just this one picture. She was set up to be this spunky engineer girl from Piltover, really sarcastic and energetic, kind of like a mix between Vi and Tristana almost in terms of personality. Now the champion design team actually spent quite a bit of time working on Cece, developing her gameplay kit and working on her character and lore, and they messed around with a lot of ideas here and there, but couldn't settle on the exact idea they wanted to use to bring Cece to life. And so what ended up happening was they started developing specifically the gameplay aspects for Cece more and more, and her kit started becoming substantially more about her shield gameplay, and her having this big workbench that looks and functions like a shield, and her blocking stuff with it. And they realized that they weren't really trying to make an engineer anymore, they were just trying to make the coolest shield champion that they could, and that's when they decided to move away from the engineer concept and officially add Cece to the library of cancelled champions. Although they thought her concepts were really cool, they didn't want to end up with a champion that felt like it was maybe a half shield champion and half engineer, since it ended up just not delivering on either of those two things at the end of the day. And so the design team continued with that idea of creating the coolest shield champion they could, and so they looked at a few more characters and took a little bit of inspiration from someone you might have heard about actually, Angus. He's probably one of the most popular fan-made champion concepts in existence. This art showcasing Angus was made as almost like a joke about how League of Legends didn't have any tough manly supports, where all the supports were girls or Taric, who's kind of feminine. And if you haven't seen the Angus concept, I mean, take a look, it's pretty funny, and it generated a lot of popularity when it was made a few years ago. And the excitement and popularity of the Angus concept at the time demonstrated that there was a lot of desire for a manly support champion. And with that inspiration, they came up with the idea for Braum. But he was still a little bit different. He was initially conceived as a Demacian character to be almost like this hardcore protector of justice, and was super serious about protecting his team and everything. But the super serious personality made it so that jumping in front of your allies to protect them wasn't something you did for fun, but rather something you kind of did as an obligation, like you were forced to do it. And it made him lackluster to play, so they transformed his personality to be a lot more jovial, fearless, and a lot more light-hearted too. And so he was moved to Freljord in order for his lore to go along a lot better with the personality they wanted him to portray. Braum is one of the very few examples of a champion that had his design begin with his gameplay concept, rather than beginning with the character concept, so unfortunately his kit didn't go through as many interesting redesigns as the other champions I've looked at in the past. However, Braum did go through a lot of different ultimates. They wanted something primarily focused on disengage and making him better at peeling, and it took a while to eventually come to the ultimate that he has now. One of his earlier ultimate designs included something that was kind of like this delayed chain knockback comboed with a knockup. And this ended up not working out in his kit primarily because with the stun from his passive being on a delay, comboed with an ultimate that kind of lacked versatility, and it proved to be quite punishing. Eventually they settled upon the existing version of Glacial Fissure from wanting something that was a thematic fit for Braum, and also had substantial gameplay and versatility and really just felt like some amazing physical action. And with everything said about the development process that Braum underwent throughout his design, there's no doubt that the pieces of his kit came together quite nicely. Dashing to shield an ally to block that one key ability is incredibly satisfying, and he still pulls off this feel of being a macho muscle man that packs a punch with an awesome and entertaining personality to back it up. His ultimate feels incredible to cast, and his passive makes you feel like even his auto attacks pack a strong punch, since every one of them count towards that goal of hitting your stun, making it so much more than just a simple auto. He's come a long way from Cece, from being this spunky engineer girl, but the changes he went through undoubtedly turned out for the better, as we were given this awesome support champion. And who knows, maybe we'll see Cece's concepts reincarnated in the future on a different champion. And that's just about it. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.